1 in 4 used cars on the market right now has a hidden problem the seller already knows about. 1 in 4. That is not a statistic pulled from some obscure consumer watchdog blog. That is the reality of a 40 million transaction per year used car market where the incentives are completely stacked against you, the buyer. Here is the thing. That car on the dealer lot looks immaculate. Fresh, detailed job. Tires blacked out. That new car smell pumped back in with a bottle and a prayer. But what you cannot see, behind the door panels, underneath the frame, buried in the engine control unit, is where the real story lives. And that story could cost you anywhere from $3,000 to your entire purchase price. Here is what the dealerships will not tell you. A Carfax report catches maybe 60% of a vehicle's actual history. The other 40% is exactly what we are covering today. 8 specific hidden problems silently destroy used car buyers every single year. Problems that survive test drives. Problems that survive visual inspections. Problems that survive a handshake and a signed bill of sale. We are talking flood cars wearing fresh interiors, odometers rolled back on 2.45 million vehicles and counting. Salvage titles washed clean across state lines and sold as spotless used inventory. The financial damage is real, the safety risk is real, and it is all happening at scale, right now, in 2026. Stick around until problem number 8, because that one has nothing to do with the car's mechanics at all. You can buy a perfectly running vehicle, hand over every dollar, and still lose it. Stay with us. Problem number 1, flood and water damage. Flooding used to be a regional catastrophe. After Hurricane Katrina, flood cars haunted the used market for nearly a decade. A slow bleed of damaged vehicles filtering through auctions and private sales across the country. But in 2025, flooding is no longer regional. It is a national pipeline. Storms across Texas, Kentucky, and West Virginia alone pushed 45,000 freshly damaged vehicles into used inventory between April and July of 2025. Sellers dried them out, detailed the interiors, and had them listed before the mold colonies behind the door panels even had time to establish themselves. And get this, Florida has now become the single largest exporter of flood-damaged cars in the country, not because Florida buyers are keeping them, because Florida sellers are shipping them out of state specifically, so buyers elsewhere have zero local context, zero community warning, and zero reason to be suspicious. The real kicker is this. There are currently over 482,000 water-damaged vehicles actively on U.S. roads right now. Nearly 500,000 ticking time bombs with blacked-out tires and pine air freshener in the cabin. Here is why this is so brutally effective as a scam. Industrial odor eliminators, a new carpet kit, and a thorough detail job can make a flooded car smell cleaner than a brand new vehicle on a showroom floor. The real damage, corroded wiring harnesses, mold colonies behind panels, compromised engine control modules, takes months to surface. By then, the seller has spent your money and moved on. Translation: the car passes every sensory test you can run in a parking lot. The evidence is hiding in places you would never think to look without being told exactly where. So here is what you do. Pull both a Carfax and an NMVTIS report. They source from different databases, and together they catch what neither one alone can identify. Then get down on your hands and knees and check under the carpet and in the trunk corners for moisture staining, rust, or dried mud residue. Water always finds the lowest point. Finally, look inside the seatbelt housing and check the metal brackets underneath the seats. Rust in those locations is a confession. Bottom line, buying a flood car is like adopting a ticking time bomb that smells like pine air freshener. It runs fine, right up until it doesn't. Problem number 2, odometer fraud. Odometer fraud used to be a mechanical crime. Someone would stick a cordless drill into the speedometer cable and spin the numbers backward. A crude physical manipulation that at least left wear patterns you could cross-reference. Those days are gone. Today, a bad actor can reprogram a digital odometer using a $50 OBD tool purchased online in a gas station parking lot in under 10 minutes. There is no physical evidence. The dashboard looks completely normal. The number on the display is simply wrong, and getting more wrong every single year. Carfax confirmed that 2.45 million cars on U.S. roads are suspected rollback victims. That is a 14% spike in a single year. The average financial hit to a defrauded buyer is $3,300 in immediate lost value. And that number does not account for the accelerated repair costs that come from treating a mechanically older, higher mileage vehicle as if it were younger and fresher than it actually is. And here is where it gets truly dangerous. There is nothing to see, no physical clue, no dashboard anomaly. Without pulling service records, cross-referencing inspection stickers, or accessing ECU stored data, You have absolutely no way of knowing, just by looking at the car, that the number staring back at you is a lie. Here is what you do. Cross-reference the mileage on the title, any previous state inspection stickers, and available service records. Inconsistencies between those three sources are your smoking gun. Then plug in an OBD2 scanner and look for stored ECU data. The onboard systems in most modern vehicles log historical mileage that directly contradicts a rolled-back display. Finally, inspect the wear indicators that cannot be reprogrammed: the eye, pedal rubber, the driver's seat bolster, and the leather on the steering wheel. A car claiming 30,000 miles with a worn-through steering wheel is a 30,000-mile lie. Bottom line, a rolled-back odometer is a used car wearing a toupee. It looks younger than it is falling apart underneath, and the person selling it is counting on you never looking up. Problem number 3, hidden accident and frame damage. 25% of used cars on the market right now show signs of previous accident damage. 1 in 4, and the best body shops in this country can make a vehicle that has been T-boned at 60 miles per hour look factory fresh. Panel gap sealed, paint color matched to the micron. Structural compromise completely invisible, until the physics of another accident demand structural integrity the car no longer has. Here is the data you need to understand. Moderate frame straightening costs anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000. Severe crumple zone damage often cannot be safely repaired at any cost, yet those vehicles still get cosmetically patched, passed off as repaired, and listed at near-market prices. Salvage history cars sell for 20 to 40% less than clean title equivalents, which is exactly why sellers invest in hiding the history rather than disclosing it. Fresh paint and body filler are the tools of the trade. A skilled technician can match factory paint so precisely that the human eye detects nothing under normal lighting. The real damage, bent frame rails, compromised sub-frame mounting points, misaligned crumple zones, lives underneath, completely invisible without a lift and a trained inspector. Translation: the car passes a parking lot walk-around with flying colors. The damage is underneath and behind surfaces you were never going to touch during a casual inspection. Here is your checklist. Bring a paint thickness gauge. Inconsistent readings between adjacent panels are a dead giveaway for body filler or respray work that the seller did not disclose. Open the hood and look specifically for mismatched bolts, visible weld seams that do not match factory spec, or a replaced radiator support. These are the fingerprints of serious front-end collision repair that survived the cosmetic cleanup. And never, not once, not ever, skip a pre-purchase inspection at an independent mechanic with a lift. Bottom line, a frame-damaged car is a rust bucket wearing a fresh coat of paint. It holds together fine on the daily commute, until the day structural integrity is actually demanded of it. If this is already changing how you see the used car market, hit that subscribe button right now, because we are only halfway through, and the next 5 problems are where the real money gets lost. Problem number 4, title washing. Title washing is the automotive equivalent of money laundering. Same criminal intent, different paper trail, and it is perfectly designed to exploit the one thing most buyers never think to question: the legitimacy of a clean title. Here is how it works. A car gets totaled in Florida. Flood damage, severe collision, whatever the cause. Florida stamps a salvage brand on the title. The seller then registers the vehicle in Georgia, a state with looser title branding laws. Georgia issues a brand new, clean-looking title. The car is then sold to a buyer in Ohio who has absolutely no idea they are purchasing a rebuilt wreck. The paper says clean, the car is not. And this is happening over 450,000 times per year. Hurricane states, Florida, Texas, and Louisiana are the primary exporters of title-washed vehicles. The scheme works because there is no federal standardization of title branding laws. Every state sets its own rules, and the gaps between those rules are exactly where title washing lives. Here is why it survives. The title looks legitimate because, in the issuing state, it legally is. The damage brand from the original state simply does not follow the vehicle into the new state's titling system. There is no asterisk, no footnote, nothing to flag. The paper says clean, and clean is all most buyers ever check. Run both a Carfax and an NMVTIS report before you touch any used car. NMVTIS specifically catches 85% of washed titles that Carfax alone will miss. Be immediately suspicious of any vehicle that has transferred registrations across 2 or more states in the last 12 months. That is the exact movement pattern of a title-washed car. And if the price is aggressively below market with a clean-looking title, that is not a deal. That is a trap. Bottom line, title washing hides in plain sight. The paperwork is technically legal, the deception is completely intentional, and the buyer pays for it every single time. Problem number 5, hidden engine defects. Sellers have a pre-sale toolkit for hiding engine problems that is almost as sophisticated as the diagnostic equipment used to find them. Engine flush additives to temporarily quiet noisy valve train components. Stop leak compounds poured into the coolant reservoir to mask a seeping head gasket. A fresh oil change timed specifically to hide the black sludge building up in the pan underneath. And here is the thing. Most of these tricks work perfectly during a 20-minute test drive around the block. The real kicker is the scale of the problem. 35% of used cars have hidden mechanical issues that do not surface during a casual inspection. CVT transmissions are a perfect and brutal example. Used in millions of Nissans, Hondas, and Subarus, a failing CVT can feel perfectly smooth during a short test drive. Replacement costs run $3,500 to $8,000. Early failure symptoms, shuddering, hesitation, unusual whining, are routinely masked with a fluid flush performed right before the car goes on the market. And get this, many serious engine problems only appear under sustained highway load, at full operating temperature, or after extended driving. A 20-minute test drive tells you almost nothing about long-term mechanical health. That is the exact window sellers are designing their concealment strategy around. Pull the dipstick before you do anything else. Milky, foamy oil is the unmistakable signature of a blown head gasket mixing coolant into the lubrication system. Watch the exhaust pipe at cold startup. White smoke means coolant is burning in the combustion chamber. Blue smoke means the engine is consuming oil. And scan for stored and pending OBD2 fault codes before you start the engine. Pending codes are problems that have already been detected by the car's computer, but have not yet triggered the warning light. They are the engine's way of whispering a confession the seller cleared and hoped you would never hear. Bottom line, a seller-freshened engine is a dinosaur in automotive terms. Cosmetically alive, functionally on borrowed time. Quick question for the Motormind community. Have you ever been burned by a used car problem nobody warned you about? Drop it in the comments, because I guarantee your story is going to help somebody watching this right now. Problem number 6. Electrical system failures. Modern vehicles are not machines anymore. They are computers on wheels. Some have over 100 individual electronic control modules managing everything from fuel injection timing to lane keep assist. And here is where it gets truly dangerous. A single corroded or water-damaged module can trigger cascading failures across every connected system in the vehicle. Sellers know this. So they grab a $40 OBD scanner, clear every stored fault code in the car, and list it the same afternoon. 20% of all inspected used cars show signs of ECU tampering or electrical compromise. Flood-damaged vehicles are the worst offenders by a significant margin. Corroded wiring harnesses can function normally for weeks or months before random shutdowns, phantom sensor failures, or total electrical collapse begin. By then, the diagnostic labor alone, before a single part is ordered, can run $300 to $500. Here is why this survives the test drive. Electrical faults are intermittent. They do not perform on command. A car with a compromised body control module or a damaged ground connection might drive flawlessly for 20 minutes and strand you on a highway 3 weeks later at 11 o'clock at night. Clearing the fault codes is free and takes 30 seconds. Finding the root cause of a cascading electrical failure takes hours of skilled labor and specialized diagnostic equipment. Test every single electrical system personally and deliberately during your inspection. Every window switch, every HVAC blower speed. Infotainment full reboot, power seat movement in all directions, all of it. Then look under the dashboard for aftermarket wiring splices, electrical tape wrapping, or mismatched connectors. The fingerprints of amateur electrical repair work that went wrong. And request a live OBD scan with a professional-grade reader, not a cleared code confirmation from the seller's personal scanner. Bottom line, buying a used car with a compromised electrical system is like buying a house with termites. You will not see the damage until the walls start collapsing, and by then, the repair bill is already catastrophic. Problem number 7. Rust and structural corrosion. Rust is the slow killer of the used car market, and it is the single most underreported hidden defect in the entire industry. A vehicle from Michigan, Ohio, or Pennsylvania that has survived 5 consecutive winters on heavily salt-treated roads can look completely normal from the outside. Showroom photos, clean body lines, decent paint. Underneath on the frame rails, subframe mounting points, and brake line brackets, the metal is quietly converting itself to powder. And get this, subframe replacement can run $600 in parts and over $1,000 in labor at current shop rates. But the real kicker is not the cost. On safety-critical components, Brake lines, control arm mounting points, steering rack brackets. Severe corrosion does not just generate a repair bill, it creates catastrophic mechanical failure risk at highway speed. A corroded brake line does not gradually lose pressure, it ruptures. A rusted control arm mounting point does not flex, it separates. Here is why it hides so effectively. Sellers apply black rubberized undercoating spray directly over corroded metal. From underneath, the car looks like it has been professionally rust-proofed and carefully maintained. It has actually been cosmetically concealed. The rust underneath continues spreading, invisible and accelerating, until something structural fails. Get the car on a lift. Look directly at the frame rails, the subframe, the control arm mounting points, and every inch of the brake and fuel lines. Probe any area that looks suspicious with a screwdriver. Surface rust resists pressure. Structural rust collapses under light force, and apply maximum caution to any used vehicle sourced from Michigan, Ohio, New York, or Pennsylvania. Those are not just Rust Belt states. They are the highest risk rust markets in the country, and their used inventory travels nationwide. Bottom line, a rust-coated undercarriage is the Pompeii of the automotive world. Everything looks preserved on the surface. Underneath, the destruction is already complete and has been for years. Problem number 8. Outstanding finance and hidden lines. Here is a scenario that plays out thousands of times every year across this country. You find a great used car, privately listed, priced fairly, maybe even slightly below market. It runs well. The seller seems straightforward. You hand over the cash, shake hands, and drive it home. 6 months later, a repo truck shows up in your driveway. Because the seller still owed money on that car when you bought it. The lender's lien was still legally attached to the title. The seller collected your payment, kept driving after your money, and the lender, who holds the actual legal title, exercised their right to repossess the vehicle from you, even though you paid full price. Here is the data on how common this actually is. 17.6% of used cars, roughly 1 in 6, carry outstanding finance liens at the point of private sale. 1 in 6. That is not a rare edge case buried in consumer fraud statistics. That is a systematic, widespread problem in the private sale market. And beyond liens, approximately 0.2% of used cars listed for private sale are outright stolen vehicles, a separate but equally catastrophic legal trap for an unsuspecting buyer. Here is why it works so consistently. Private sellers can physically hold a title document while still owing money on the vehicle. In most states, the lien holder's name appears on the title itself, but buyers rarely know how to read that or what to look for. A confident seller, a below-market price, and a buyer in a hurry create the perfect conditions for this transaction to go exactly the wrong way. Run a lien check through your state's DMV database or an NMVTIS report before any money moves. Do not accept a bill of sale as a substitute for a clean, lien-free title in hand at the moment of purchase. A bill of sale is a piece of paper. A lien is a legal instrument that supersedes it entirely. And for any significant private sale, conduct the transaction at a bank or credit union. The seller gets paid, the lien status is formally confirmed, and the title transfers with a paper trail that protects you legally. Bottom line, buying a car with a hidden lien is not bad luck. It is a legal trap that strips you of a vehicle you paid for in full and leaves you chasing a seller who has already spent your money. The used car market is a minefield, and most buyers walk through it blindfolded. They trust the listing photos. They trust the Carfax report. They trust the test drive and the handshake and the price that feels just right. And 1 in 4 of them gets burned. Not because they were reckless, because nobody told them where to look. Here is where we stand. Flood damage hiding behind industrial-grade odor eliminators and new carpet kits. Odometers digitally rolled back on 2.45 million vehicles and counting. Frame damage painted over with precision color-matching bodywork. Titles legally washed clean across state lines and sold as spotless used inventory. Engines chemically silenced with additives timed to survive the test drive window. Electrical systems with cleared codes and a cascading failure on a 60-day timer. Rust sprayed black and sold as properly undercoated. And liens that allow a lender to legally repossess a vehicle you paid for in full. 8 problems. All of them hiding in plain sight. All of them avoidable with the right preparation. Bottom line, the single most important step you can take before handing over any money is this. Pay for an independent pre-purchase inspection. Not the dealer's affiliated shop, not your cousin who worked at a tire place. A licensed independent mechanic with a lift, a professional OBD scanner, and zero financial stake in whether you buy the car or walk away. A $100 to $200 inspection has saved buyers from 5-figure disasters more times than we can count. That one step closes off more of these 8 problems simultaneously than anything else on this list. Here is the thing. The used car market is not designed to protect you. The seller wants to close. The dealer wants the commission. The listing platform wants the transaction volume. You are the only person in this entire equation whose job it is to protect yourself, and now you know exactly what to look for, what to ask, and what to run before you sign anything. If this video saved you from a costly mistake, or if you know someone standing on a dealer lot right now, share this with them before they hand over a single dollar, and hit subscribe if you want the truth about used cars in 2026. Because the next video goes straight into the specific makes and models that come preloaded with the most problems right off the used lot. You are going to want to see that one before you buy anything.